Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the top 5 best Fujifilm lenses. Starting at number 5. Fuji 16mm f1.4. Equivalent to a 24mm lens on a full-frame camera, the Fuji 16mm f1.4 is held by many as the best Fuji wide-angle lens. 24mm is typically used in conjunction with a longer lens by wedding photographers, landscape photographers, street photographers, architectural photographers and basically anyone who wants to tell a story by including more in the frame. For a wide-angle lens, the 16mm f1.4 has relatively little distortion for a wide-angle lens. Distortion is hard to measure on some Fujifilm X mount lenses since the camera body may be correcting any distortion automatically, but either way, you won't see any warped elements in your final images. The 16mm f1.4 is built like a tank, much the same as most of the Fuji X mount products. In fact, the Fujifilm X mount products are built much better than any of the plasticky Nikon or Canon Pro options, which often cost twice as much. As for performance, the 16mm f1.4 is super sharp, exhibits no lateral color fringing, and no visible light falloff, even when shot wide open at f1.4. As with all wide-angle lenses, you need your subject to be relatively close to the camera if you really want to separate them from the background via the bokeh. In fact, the 16mm f1.4 can focus to within just 6 cm from the front of the lens. For more information and latest price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. At number 4. Fujinon XF 16-55mm f2. 8RLMWR. The weather-resistant Fujinon 16-55mm f2.8 lens is a mid-range zoom with a focal length equivalent to 24-84mm and a constant f2.8 aperture throughout the range. It's a pro-grade zoom Fujifilm lens with amazing optics and razor sharpness from edge to edge. If you are ready to make the investment, the 16-55mm f2.8 is the best mid-range zoom Fujifilm produces and also the most popular all-round focal length zoom available. On a 35mm camera, the Fuji 16-55mm f2.8's closest lens would be the immensely popular 24-70mm f2.8, a zoom range favored by many pro photographers due to its versatility. From wide-angle to medium telephoto, a 24-70mm covers it all. Shot fully zoomed out to 55mm, the 16-55mm f2.8 is an excellent portrait lens. If you step back enough and want to shoot wide, a non-distorted portrait can even be shot around 16mm, like the example below, which was shot at 17mm. Its solid build does, however, add to its weight, which often results in it being a lot heavier than the Fuji mirrorless camera it's attached to. If you don't mind the weight, the 16-55mm f2.8 is technically brilliant, and since the focal range is so versatile, it deserves to remain here as one of the top Fujinon lens options available this year. Halfway of my listed number 3. Fuji 27mm f2.8. This pancake lens is one of my personal favorites in this roundup. It's the smallest and lightest of all in the range, making it a great Fuji lens for travel. In my mind, the biggest benefit of the Fujifilm X cameras and compact mirrorless cameras, in general, is their size and weight. Putting a big heavy zoom on the front of a lightweight Fuji camera body just doesn't make sense to me. The 27mm f2.8 adds a mere 0.17 pounds to the front of your camera and is an absolute joy to use, making it much more likely that you'll have your camera in your pocket with you everywhere you go. Incidentally, if you're looking for a small and light camera for use on the street, many consider the Fuji X-A1 to be the best camera under $500. As for performance, the 27mm f2.8 is sharp at all apertures, although shooting wide open at f2.8 will result in slight softness in the corners, but it's barely noticeable. When stopped down to the smaller apertures, the 27mm f2.8 is at its sharpest, exhibiting no distortion combined with excellent color rendition, as shown in the JPEG image below, which came straight out of a Fuji XPR01 with Velvia film simulation. Coming in at number 2. Fujinon XF 23mm f1. 4R. For many photographers, this is one of the best Fuji prime lenses ever made. When I tested a range of Fujifilm lens options for this review, I had this Fuji 23mm f1. 4 on my camera 90% of the time and absolutely loved it. It's usually the smaller prime options such as this one that are the most popular for Fuji X series cameras since they balance so well with the camera body. 35mm is arguably the most popular focal length for photographers due to its versatility, being equally at home shooting portraits, as well as being wide enough to fill the frame with interest. The 23mm f1. 4 is super sharp, focuses accurately and near instantaneously, has beautiful bokeh when shot wide open at f1. 4, and also displays awesome sun stars when stopped down to smaller apertures. There's no distortion, which is unusual for a 35mm lens, and another surprise is the complete lack of vignetting, even at f1. 4. This could be the cleanest 35mm equivalent lens ever produced. It's definitely the better of the two 23mm XF options in terms of image quality. In fact, photojournalists and street photographers often have the 23mm f1. 4 permanently attached to their mock rangefinder X Pros simply because the combination is just so good. And number 1. Fujinon XF 55-200mm f3. 5.4. 8. Shown on at XPR01 above, the 55-200mm f3.5.4. 8 is a relatively portable telephoto zoom that offers impressive image quality right across its wide zoom range. Focus is silent and fast, perfectly complementing the best Fuji cameras for discreet shooting. The inbuilt image stabilization of the 55-200mm f3.5.4. 8 is impressive, allowing the use of slow shutter speeds to prevent camera shake, even when hand-holding in low-light situations. Imagine being able to shoot 4 or 5 stops slower than you usually would with a long-range zoom lens, and still have a sharp photo. Being able to use slower shutter speeds in low light will allow you to use lower ISOs, which in turn leads to a cleaner final image. The 55-200mm focal length, when used on a Fuji X mount camera with a 1.52x crop factor, shows the same angle of view as an 80-300mm lens on a 35mm camera. My favorite feature of this impressive Fuji zoom lens is its ability to focus as close as 1 meters, which means you can capture high-quality telephoto close-ups, much like a macro lens. It's great to have such a broad focal range in one lens that's much more compact and lightweight than an equivalent lens for a full-frame camera, and also that it can be used for close-ups too. With over 100 5-star reviews on Amazon, the 55-200mm f3.5.4. 8 is one of the best Fuji zoom lenses, an excellent all-round choice with a useful telephoto range and high image quality. For more information and latest price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you found it helpful. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below,